The other thing I'd ask you to notice is left-hand side and right-hand side. Look at the ends of the walls. They just built this road. You can see it again on the right, and then have a look on the left-hand side again. So that's what happened. Wallop, smashed those houses down and built this road. That's how we used to do things in this country. So that's how this neighbourhood grew up. I talked about those two actors. If you talk to the people who live around this part of London, here we're in Chiswick now. It means cheese market, really, but we just call it Chiswick. They will tell you that this, they will have you understand, is Britain's equivalent of Beverly Hills. This is where all the movie stars live. But most of the celebrities that they will mention, nobody on this bus will have heard of, which is no bad thing because they're not worth knowing about. But there is also the wonderful brewery, Fuller, Smith and Turner's, known affectionately to the locals as Fuller Shit and Turnips, but we'll move on from that one. And around the corner from Fuller, Smith and Turner's, just down to the left, there is a kind of clan of actors led by Vanessa Redgrave, who's the matriarch of that, and they're very well known. Most of them now live in the United States, but there is a program that's made in this country, some people might have heard of it. It's called Downton Abbey, and the cook from Downton Abbey lives in the next street on the left hand side. Her name is Beryl Patmore. That's her character. She lives in this little road on the left hand side. Her name is Beverly Nicol. Leslie Nicol. Leslie Nicol, that's where she lives. I thought you'd be impressed. Gosh, I bet all those people who go to Hollywood and hear about all these other big names, there is nothing compared to... The road we're on now is called the Chiswick Flyover. It was built in the 1960s, and it was built when they were building a big road that was going to go all the way down to the southwest, down to South Wales, called the M4. And that's the road we're just about to join, is called the M4. Beneath us is another road that runs underneath us, which is called the A4. And that is a very old road indeed. It used to be used in the 18th century and before that for stagecoaches heading west to the great city of Bath, the great resort out there. But then after just around the time of the end of the First World War, they began to improve the road, make it suitable for vehicles like the one we're travelling on now, sort of things, motor cars, etc. And along the road they began to build factories, and a few of those original factories, built mainly in the 20s and the 30s, have remained here. There's a few prime examples of them. They are still here because the government have insisted that they actually remain. They are historic buildings, according to the government. The buildings over there to your left-hand side is part of public housing, and the way you deal with public housing nowadays is that you privatise it, you sell it off, and that's what's going to happen to them. The people who live in them, who are paying their rent to the local authority, are going to be moved out, and they're going to be converted into apartments that will be sold on the open market. Of the great factories that were built, one of the most interesting is the one that will be coming up in a moment on your left hand side, built and opened by 1933, and it was making aircraft parts. You know, the aeroplanes were just beginning to be important, and this is what this was originally, a place to make aeroplanes. For those of you on the left hand side, you might be able to look up and you'll actually see an angel on our left hand side in just a moment. So you'll see the lovely graveyard. So it's got it all, and some quite famous people have been associated with Datchet, not just the Herschels. In the 1970s, in the house we're coming up to in just a moment on your left hand side, it's called Datchet House. Very well appointed, isn't it? Datchet House, very handsome. That was the home at one stage of a movie actor called Michael Caine. So he lived there in the 1970s, and the story is, and I've never had anybody contradict me on this, and I've a building with a kind of green top and it's got a clock on it. That was originally the Gillette building, the company that makes the razor blades, and that's now a listed building that's used for I think private apartments now. And this was the pharmaceutical company that used to be just back there, SmithKline Glaxo. Another big company in this country is called Sky, and over there to your left hand side you can see the wind turbine and the building beside it, the kind of white looking building. Sky is a TV station that's owned by a gentleman called Rupert Murdoch, and Rupert Murdoch, that's mainly where his sports outlet is. So right now there'll be there's sports programs being broadcast from there. Rupert Murdoch's organisation here in London employs more people than the national broadcaster, the BBC. He owns about a third of the media in this country. And it's very controversial because Heathrow is built in the heart of the suburbs, and a lot of people live around here, and they deeply resent the fact there's going to be even more flights coming over their houses in the near future. If you're wondering where we're talking about, it's just over there to your left hand side. You can't see it very clearly, but everything over there to your left hand side is Heathrow Airport. So it is a massive decision, and government after government after government has put off the decision to build that third runway. And this government, since Mrs. May has been Prime Minister, has not shown any signs yet of having the courage to say yes or no to the third runway at Heathrow. It's not just, as I say, it's a massive disruption that when we get to the castle itself, you'll get another view of the college itself. So we're not that far off the coach park. Our plan is to disembark from the coach park. We're going to walk up some stairs. We're going to go via a railway station, then via a shopping mall, then up to the castle itself. Then, as I said, you'll have your tickets distributed, then you'll go through the security check, and then into the castle itself. On the way up there, I'll be giving you very good instructions, because once I've left you at the state apartments to go in and enjoy, I'll ask you to make your way back to the coach itself, where we're going to be more or less dropped off. That's the plan, and my plan is to be leaving here at 4:10, and we have to leave at 4:10. We're not going to be allowed to stay any longer. I won't be staying any longer. So 4:10 is when it leaves. I promise you. Allow yourself about 10-15 minutes to get yourselves back from the castle to the coach park, and you should be all right. And I promise you'll find it very easy. We're a big green Clark's coach. Might not be the only one in the coach park this afternoon, but one thing that will definitely be outside it until we leave is the blue and white umbrella, which I'm now displaying in front of you here. And that's what you follow up to the castle, and then when you come back in time to go home, that will be outside the coach itself. Over to your right, you start to see just the scale of Windsor. It is enormous. I think the claim, it's a bit hard to remember, it's the largest continually occupied royal palace in Europe. Do you want that one again? No, never mind. But that's what it claims to be. So Lloyd is just going to go down the end. He's going to be parked. Where have they dropped the full leaves? We'll be parked somewhere along here. I promise you, we will.
Leading to Windsor Castle. It's raining out there. It's like a typical London's weather. Cloudy. The temperature is around 20 degrees Celsius. We're about to enter the castle. This is a sign on the gate. Wait, let's see first.
Present time, and the approval ratings that the monarchy gets, the last time I saw a figure, it was 68 up to 75% approval ratings. So those are the last figures I heard, and any elected politician would absolutely kill to get anywhere near that kind of popularity figures in this country. So the Queen has had a few years where everything seems to have gone right for her. She's been everything. She won. They would say she won the Oscar, or the royal family won the Oscar a couple of years ago with the King's Speech, when her father was portrayed in that. So there was Oscars handed out for that one. She jumped out of a helicopter with James Bond back in 2012 at the opening of the Olympics, and she's had her Diamond Jubilee celebrations with millions of people out in the street, and this year her 90th birthday. And in addition to that, people like Prince William, Prince Harry are enormously popular, and the young children that have been born in the last few years. So for the time being, the royal family, and most particularly the Queen, has never been as popular as they are at the present time. Can I just add a very brief word of caution on that? I started to think about doing this job about the time of the fire at Windsor, and I was I was cutting out newspaper cuttings as I was told to do so, to keep up to date. Always get your newspaper cuttings every night to do them, and I still do that. And I found a few of my old ones from back in 1992, up to the time of the death of Princess Diana. And believe you me, the popularity of the royal family was nowhere. You could not take that for granted. Its standing was at a very low ebb indeed, and those approval ratings were heading towards the 40 or 50%. So things have been turned around in this country, but it does not mean that perhaps, you know, with certain circumstances, the popularity of the royal family might again plummet. Nonetheless, let's just keep it as it is and say that for the time being, it's never been as popular, and everybody keeps telling us how lucky we are to have the royal family. What we're going to do now is enter Windsor Great Park, and we're going to show you the long walk. And when I say a long walk, I mean it. 5 kilometres, 3 miles, laid out in 1685 by King Charles II. We are not allowed to stop, but what we'll do is we'll slow down. The best view will be to your left hand side, where you'll see the entrance to Windsor Castle. This is the entrance that the Queen will use when she returns from Balmoral, where she is at the moment, up in the northeast of Scotland. So get ready. The best view you'll see coming up to your left hand side. Keep looking. We'll slow down just a little bit if we can. There it is. It's a good view. And then look quickly to your right and just see how far it stretches. So, and that goes all the way to a statue of George III. So that's 5 kilometres. And everything you see around you now is Windsor Great Park. And Windsor Great Park is a great park. We're driving through just a small part of it called the Home Farm. And just look at the crops. They've all been gathered in here on the right hand side for the summer. It was barley. No, it wasn't. It was wheat. It was wheat. So that's all now been combined. The Queen has got quite a big farm. She's got 700 Sussex cattle. So that's for beef. And then she has about 200 Jersey cows for milk, which is the best milk that you can have. And there will be, I don't know what the crop they've got in there now at the right hand side. So it is a working commercial farm. And as I say, the entire thing is about 15,800 acres. 15,800 acres. So everything you see off to your right hand side, for as far as your eye can stretch, all the way to the horizon, is Windsor Great Park. And Windsor Great Park is part of the Crown Estates. And the Crown Estates are important. It is the land that was once owned by the royal family outright, and what happened in the 18th century was that the Crown Estates, which will also include 12 miles off the coast of this country and at various other places, all the revenues from the Crown Estate would go to the government. And in exchange for that, up until a few years ago, there was something called a civil list, where each year money was granted to the royal family, to the Queen, for the Queen to enable the Queen to carry out her duties as the head of state. They changed the way that the Queen was financed in 2012, and it's now called the Sovereign Grant. And remember those Crown Estates, it is, the Queen will get 15% of the annual profits from the Crown Estates. If you're wondering what that adds up to, I'll tell you, for this year, it's £43 million is what goes to the Queen. They claim they spend around about 40 million of it, and that 16 million will go on the upkeep of the royal residences. You may have seen some of the scaffold at Windsor today. But I think the problem they've got is they didn't think they were going to get quite that much. And the trouble is, the way it's all set up, it can't be reduced. And they're getting saying this is quite embarrassing.